Hey everybody, this is Brian B here with Double B Marketing, and I'm back with another video of a question that some people have, and it's about hip flexors is tight. So, are your hip flexors tight, basically? And we're gonna dive in and talk about that. So, your hip flexors is basically a muscle around your hip area, and a lot of times people are like they're tight, and when you have tight hip flexors, mean you start having some pains around that area, and you can get this from like sitting a lot. And one of the things is it's tight not because it's being strained. It's more sometimes it's just because it's not strong. And I'm gonna give you some exercises that can help you loosen up that tightness. So I'm gonna toss it over to a friend and let's see what he has to say.
Today we're going to go over 3 exercises that you can do to train your hip flexion. So, a lot of people get very nervous at the phrase hip flexors, right? Most people think, hey, my hip flexors are tight, I'm sitting too much, this tightness is pulling me into anterior pelvic tilt. And yes, sometimes there's something to that, but what we find a lot of the time is that they may be tight and they may have a feeling of tightness, but that does not mean that they are strong. And it takes strong, healthy hip flexors that activate when they're supposed to activate to actually stabilize your spine and your pelvis. So to keep you out of anterior pelvic tilt, your hip flexors actually need to know how to work. So a lot of what we do here is we retrain the hip flexors to be able to do their job, to stabilize yourself during movement. And once you're able to do that, you'll find that a lot of your issues clear up and that your movement actually improves a lot. Now, in a lot of conventional exercise that you do at the gym, if you're lifting weights, doing any type of bodybuilding or powerlifting type workouts, hip flexion is not something that is done very much in those type of exercise routines. So a lot of the time people are missing this aspect of, or this range of motion in their training programs. So we're going to show you 3 very easy exercises just to start training these muscles to become stronger in the motion that they're actually supposed to do, which is hip flexion. Okay, let's hit it. So the first exercise we're going to do is we're going to get back down on our back and we are going to do a supine leg extension. So I'm going to pop both my knees up here, right? We're in this hip flex position. We're very strong here. My lower back is flat to the ground, and I'm going to extend one leg, pulling back with this knee to keep myself neutral here, okay? This leg is very important in this. Now I'm going to bring this back, so my hip is now going through that hip flexion that we're talking about, and now we can alternate to this other side. Now this leg is very strong right here, keeping me neutral, and I pull back with that other leg. Okay? Boom, boom. These will be very important in training yourself to be able to be strong in hip flexion. Now, once you get good at that, we can do both legs at the same time. This is going to be much more difficult, so I wouldn't suggest trying this until you get strong at that single leg variation. But once you do, these will really challenge the hip flexors and this whole core pelvis area to stay neutral. Now, the next one we're going to do is we're going to hop up into a plank position, and we're going to do what a lot of people refer to as a mountain climber. But instead of doing this for more of, a cardiovascular exercise, we're going to do it more to work on our hip flexion further here. So we get a good plank position. We're pushing the ground away. As you can see, I'm not dipping down into tilt. I am keeping everything neutral, and I'm just going to, boom, bring this knee up into hip flexion, bring it back. Flexion, bring it back, boom. Training these hip flexors to work under a good, stable torso, right? So if we are staying braced and in a good plank position, then the hip flexor is going to work better. Now, variation we can do on this is we can come out. If you want to work on external rotation of the hip with hip flexion a little bit, or we can kind of cross here, work on a little bit more internal rotation, which is probably going to be the one that a lot of people need to work on. Okay? Oh. All right. That is the plank hip flexion, mountain climber, whatever you want to call it. This third one is going to be a little bit different in that we're going to keep the knee locked out now, right? So we're going to challenge this quad to work in just hip flexion rather than also knee flexion, okay? So what we're going to do is we're just going to simply lock the knee, raise one leg up at a time, as high as you can go, okay? Boom. A lot of the time when people first start doing this, their quad will start cramping up because it's not used to doing this movement, all right? And what's happening is the quads may be strong in a flex position, but they may not be strong in just doing this isolated hip flexion, okay? Now what's also important is that you want to try to maintain a good neutral spine, upright torso. We don't want to get this happening, right? This is going to be a way to cheat because we're tucking that pelvis under and then getting a little bit more flexibility of the hamstring. What we want to do is just maintain, boom, neutral pelvis, neutral spine. You may not be able to get as high doing this, but that's fine. So let me just show you a version straight on here. Boom. Moral of the story is do not be afraid of hip flexion. Relearn how to properly flex your hips under a neutral spine to brace your core, and your hip flexors will stop feeling like they're super tight, right? When you do go into hip flexion and you bring that knee up under anterior pelvic tilt and an overextended spine, that's when that's going to feel bad. That might feel impingy, and you're going to feel like you shouldn't flex your hip. Okay? So don't get scared. Try these exercises out. Use them with caution. Be careful. Try to get the form right and see where it takes you. Okay.
All right, so that is ways to unlock those hips. And if you need more of a program that is all about, helping the hips and your posture, and puts it into how you should be doing these at the gym, what I recommend is taking advantage of this program, which is called Unlock Your Hip Flexors. Right, this is a review of it. It's going to be going over these different exercises: dynamic stretching, mobility exercises, fascia, muscle activation movements, core stability. But it's going to put it in a program that's going to help you with relieve a bunch of that pain or tightness if you have it. Somewhere on this page, if you click the link below, it'll take you exactly where you can get the program. Maybe on this blog post, or if you're watching it's on the blog post, you can click the link below and it'll take you to get access to the program. So thanks for your time. I hope that helps and answers your question, and enjoy the rest of your day.